On this week's episode...
Why did we spend that time trying to build up and create an art form to have it just bastardised like that?
You're listening to the Magicians Podcast, informal interviews with the biggest names in magic.
Welcome, my friends, welcome one and all to the Magicians Podcast. Thanks for tuning in again. My guest today is Russ Stevens. It's an interesting interview. We're going to get to it very shortly. But before we do, how would you like to be given $200 worth of free downloads from the Vanishing Ink website? You think I'm going to ask you to do something difficult, don't you? I'm really not. To be in with a chance of winning $200 worth of Vanishing Ink downloads, all you have to do is go onto the Magicians Podcast Facebook page and share our latest status. If you do that, you'll be placed into a draw, and the person whose name is chosen will be given $200 worth of free downloads for the Vanishing Ink website. The closing date for this is Monday, the 8th of December at 9 a.m. That morning, I will do the draw and choose someone who will get an early Christmas present. Hope it sounds good. Go and do it right now before you forget. When I was a kid, Russ Stevens would frequently pop up on television presenting stage illusions. He was also in the Mystique show in Blackpool. Today, he makes his living through the RSVP Magic website, producing some of the finest magic DVDs and showreels available. He also manages the career of James Moore. Russ lives 200 miles away from me in Blackpool, so we agreed to meet in a mutual place. We were both in town for the London Festival of Magic and met in a Premier Inn to discuss his career. The audio levels on this interview are not as high as the previous episodes because we were meeting in a public place. But in the words of my great colleague Pete Wardell, who manages the Magic State of Mind, I think this just adds to the atmosphere. Here he is then, Russ Stevens. So here we are, the man himself. How you doing, Russ?
Very good, thank you very much, Richard.
You had a good day today. You were involved and you were very outspoken with your views.
As usual.
With the TV thing. Did you enjoy today?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Really interested to know a little bit. I've watched you on TV since I was a kid. What I'm really interested to know is right to the very beginning. So I know obviously you were Young Magician of the Year. Do you have an interesting story of how you got into it, or was it just the magic set? Like
I saw a magic set, typical magic set thing, but I really got into it when I saw Johnny Hart, who's an English manipulator in the 70s, do his act on TV, producing cards. And that really, I was like, wow, I want to do that, the card manips. And that's what really spurred me on to get on with it. And then I put a little act together and entered the Young Magician of the Year. The first time it came nowhere. And the second time, when I was 16, I got Pat Page to help me, got my act together, and I was lucky enough to win it. So that was in 77.
Was it a bumper year that year? Were you up against any names that we'll know now?
No, not really. No, there were none really. No, there weren't.
So did you go straight into doing it professionally after that? Or?
Yeah, it was back in those days. It was near the end of the varieties, the variety era. So there were still shows in Blackpool and summer season resorts where you could do 5-6 months at a time. And so I won it in 77, and in 78 I did my first season. So, but I was lucky when you won the Young Magician, there was quite a lot of kudos to it. So you would do a lot of TV shows. There was a lot of variety shows on. So you would do, the Saturday night variety shows. I did the Good Old Days, which was I think that was like a 30-year history, and I think I ended up being the youngest magician they ever had. And it was always really good act. So to be on there was amazing. At the time it was wow, And so I did a lot of TV shows and summer seasons. So I got a lot of experience doing that, that way, which you can't get now. It doesn't exist.
Was that with the Manip Act then at that point?
No, I did a dove act. I did a dove. I had about 6 doves, a chicken, 2 dogs and a cockatoo. All travelled in a mini Clubman estate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
so yeah, I did a bird act. So, and I did that for about 5 or 6 years, and then in the end it just became so impractical. I kind of moved on to, I think, the broomstick suspension using a mic stand. I'd worked on that, and then I eventually got this show called Mystique, which was in Blackpool, which was a big illusion show, and they funded all of that. But I ended up by the time I left 7 years later, I had a whole show of my own. So
were they bringing the illusions in, or were they your own selections?
All I had was a broomstick suspension, which we didn't even use in the show. So everything was theirs, apart from my minip act. The opening of the show was my entrance was just a few 2-3 minutes of the Birds fire, and then the rest of it was their stuff. But it was stuff that I kind of said, this is what I want to do, and I had like ideas of how I wanted to present it. They didn't, so it was kind of quite cool that they used my ideas. They seemed to trust that I'd done it before and I hadn't, so I was quite lucky, really. Yeah, it was very good. And then as it went on, I did 7 years. So as it went on, I just added more stuff, and I was really lucky that Wayne Dobson was one of my best friends, and he got his own TV series at that point, and so I consulted on 2 of his 3 series, and it ended up with Wayne finishing a series and saying, "I've got this illusion. Do you want to buy it? I don't want it." And I remember, famously, it was a shrinker illusion from David Mendoza, and people don't know illusion builders. David Mendoza was the guy, but I still think he's one of the best builders ever. And I'd buy a shrinker that then back in 1990 would be $15,000-$20,000. I'd get it for £1,500 from Wayne, because the TV company just wanted to get rid of it. So I was very lucky. So it allowed me to build up a collection of illusions I wouldn't have been able to afford. So it was kind of good. Very good. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you were in it for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then what was the story of you leaving there?
Well, I was kind of headhunted by another producer to do another show in Blackpool with Joe Pasquale. And so I did that for one. That was in 95. And then the following year I took on a theatre of my own and put on a show, Theatre of Illusion, where I think it was about 10 dancers, myself, and we just took this whole theatre on, a derelict theatre, did it up and lost all my money and nearly my house. So I kept the props, that was about it.
Wow.
So that wasn't a good year. But I did do a show that exactly with no restrictions and no one telling me what to do. So it was kind of cool.
I remember you telling me about this once before. Actually, this was you got unlucky with a deal with a coach company or something.
Yeah, we had stuff set up, and the Pleasure Beach, when I left, weren't too happy that I left. And subsequently the coach groups that we had committed suddenly all pulled out within the space of a week and went to the Pleasure Beach. So they kept Mystique going and replaced me with 3 magicians. And I always remember the headline for the show was, it was the best review I ever got, and I wasn't in the show. And it was, it just goes to prove 3 can't go into 1. And at the end of it, I always remember the last part of the review, Eric Cantona was the big player for Man United at the time, and the last part was Mystique without Russ Stevens is a bit like Man United without Eric Cantona. And I was like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing. So, so I did that and lost all my money. And then...
Sorry, how long did you say it lasted for?
We did about 10 weeks in the end. And that folded. And then, but before it had folded, I'd set up a contract to go to Germany the following year. So I was kind of fine, but I did 2 years in Germany. And then I did the first year in Germany, which was fine, and they rebooked the show, but with a new show. And then 10 weeks into that season, which was 6 months, said, well, we've made a mistake on the tax here, and we haven't been able to get this exemption certificate, so you owe us tax for everything and everybody for 2 years. So I basically lost all my money again.
Wow.
So it's quite amazing. And then, and that was it. And that was kind of 97, 98.
Wow.
Yeah.
When that happens and you're in something as precarious as being an illusionist, does it make you want to quit, or does it make you want to just, do you get straight back in the game with it?
Then I just carried on because that's all I could do.
Yeah.
So I just carried on, but it makes you trust people less and stuff like that. I hardened up a lot, but I still had a passion for doing it. At that point, I was still really into doing it. So, and then I got offered a ship to take the show onto a ship. And that was when these big super American liners started, and I got a really good offer to go on and do a 6-month contract with their dancers. So I did that, and it was actually I didn't enjoy it, but it was a great way to make money because you couldn't spend money.
No outgoings.
No outgoings, yeah. And I was with my girlfriend, now wife, and it was fine. It was good, and that's how I learned video editing. That was Duncan Trudeau, my best friend, said, if you do a ship, make sure you learn something.
And Duncan also spent a lot of time on the ship.
Yeah, he did an incredible amount. 18 months straight on one ship. I mean, God, that would drive me crazy. And he said, learn something. You'll either become an alcoholic or learn something. And I learned video editing. That was in the early stages of PC video editing. So, and that's how the RSVP Magic thing started, because I started to edit and do promos for other acts, and just for free. And then people would pay me to do it. I was quite good at it. And then I got in touch with Martin Sanderson, who I always loved as a worker, and we did a DVD, and there weren't many DVDs around then, and it kind of went from there. So I had RSVP I still have. It's still an ongoing business, but obviously things have now changed because I've got into this whole management thing. Yeah.
Going back to when you were sort of doing the illusions, and my earliest memories of you are on Tricks and Tracks, which was...
God.
Yeah, but the footage is still on YouTube, I think,
yeah.
and there's some really interesting sort of things that... Tell me a little bit about that project, how you got involved with that.
I was in Mystique, and the people used to come in and see the show. It was a really high-profile show, so you used to get a lot of work outside of Mystique, so it was good for that. And one of those things was Tricks and Tracks, and they used to have a magician every week and an act. And my management said, look, why don't you put Russ on every week? He's got the material, and that's what I did. That year was a year that I just did every week. I was the act, So it was kind of really good, actually. And I always remember it finished, and they repeated it about 4 months later, and that was the days where I think I got an 80% repeat fee for the entire series. I wasn't even expecting this check to drop through my letterbox. I couldn't believe it. So it was a good thing to do financially, and it was a good profile,
So something I think a lot of magicians don't realise unless they've dabbled with illusions, and I do, obviously, is just the graph that goes into moving these things around, putting them together, the maintenance. Did you have people, sort of a team with you?
I was lucky because I had a team, so with Mystique, it allowed me to, because of the profile of the show, I got good gigs. So financially, the money that I could earn allowed me to employ other people. So I very rarely had to lug them around, So I was kind of lucky in that respect. So I didn't really, I used to know how to set them up and look after them, but yes, even allowing for that is hard bloody work, really hard work, It's for a young guy, that's for sure. Yeah.
What's some, you've sort of really dabbled with some of the, the signature illusions that, the greats have invented, and some brilliant builders have made. What are some of your favourites that you've...
I really love the Impaler, that's still my favourite, just because it's such a simple prop. It's just a sword sitting on a mirror ball or a ball of some kind, and it just looks so simple.
You were doing that in Mystique all the time?
Yeah, I did it in '88. I was probably one of the first people to do it in Europe. I know I think Copperfield had just started doing it, and we probably started doing it about a year after that. So, and that was the big thing that sold the show. It's on all the posters, and yeah.
What was that like, doing that every day?
I've got a really bad back now, so just as a heads up, anyone doing it, I don't think anyone's going to be doing it the amount that I did, though, because back in the day there was still, I was doing 2 shows a day. In Germany I was doing 3 and 4 shows a day some days, doing the Impaler. I reckon I probably did it in this period of 12 years. I probably did, I worked it out, it was something like 9 solid years, 7 days a week, dropping down on that sword,
Was yours a proper drop, or was it a bit more?
Yeah, it was proper in the fact that the one that they bought, the air screw had got knocked out. I didn't even know there was meant to be one. So there was no cushion when you landed, when you hit. You drop about 10 inches. So it was like a bang, every bang. That was 3 years.
How do you feel when you hear magicians say that close-up magic is the most difficult type of magic to do?
Yeah, it makes me laugh. They need to stand on a stage for 30 minutes in front of 3,000 people and then say that. I appreciate the skill set for close-up, but as a performance, the thing of performing illusion, you need to know, and you need to be a good showman, you need to look right, you need to know about lighting, you need to know about staging, music, blocking. There's so much that people don't realise. It does make me smile.
Yeah.
It does make me smile.
So, as I said, you came off the ships. Was that just you'd had enough of it? Or?
Yeah, I only did it was just really near the end, and I did about 2 years. 2 years on the ships, and then I got a gig right near the end through Michael Vine, Darren Brown's manager, and it was a really big corporate in Las Vegas and at the Mandalay Bay, and I went and did that, and I took Duncan with me. We'd always said as kids we wanted to go to Vegas, and then he got married, he had kids, and I was like, hey, be my advisor, quote advisor. And so we went out, and it was a huge show. and we did it, and I remember the night it finished, I walked off, and we were going back to the room, and I remember saying to Duncan, that's it, it's finished, done.
Did you know before you got on the plane, really?
Yeah, I came off stage and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've just kind of done it. I don't want to.
Does that go back to you saying it's a bit of a young man's game?
No, I was still, I at that point I was still fit, I looked good, and I can still get away with it. And I was, so the illusion thing is important, that you look right and you're slim and you look right, if you're doing that kind of illusion act that I was doing. And but it wasn't that. I just realised, I don't know, I never did it because I wanted to be on stage. I did it because I love magic. And so the motivation for doing it was a pure motivation, not a egotistical one. When I was in Mystique, I was the first one out the door after the show. I was the first one to get in my car and go home. I didn't do the show business thing at all. So so it kind of made it easier. I don't miss it. The day I walked off, I remember the last proper show I did with the Illusions was a Blackpool Convention gala show, and the tech crew there used to work for me in Mystique, probably half of them. And Russ Brown, who is the head stage manager for the convention, I wasn't getting enough rehearsal time. And I said to him, Russ, this is like my last ever show. And he was like, yeah, I bet. And I'm like, Russ, this will be the last show I ever do, ever, doing this stuff. And he was like, yeah. And it was. Totally was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
No, not at all.
Really?
No, not at all. I don't miss one thing about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I could stop, and my wife was a skater. She was a Dutch skater, the principal skater in Holiday on Ice, and she was the same. When she quit, she's never been on ice since. Never stepped on ice since '95 or something. She's stopped, and that was it. And for me, I kind of stopped, and it was like, yeah, I did it. I thought I was pretty good at it. When I look back, I go, wow, some of that was bad, but some of it was really good. At the time, you don't see it like that, but some of it I was really proud of.
One of my favourite memories, actually, is I don't know what year it was, but we're here this week in London for the International Magic Convention Festival, as it is during the week. And when I was a kid, probably in my later teens, you closed the gala show at Her Majesty's.
Oh God,
Theatre.
yeah,
I'm
that
not sure
was
if you closed it,
international.
actually, but you
I think I
it.
did first half close or something like that. Wow, God, that was with Arturo Brachetti. I remember he was on the show.
What's it like doing illusions at magic conventions?
Yeah, it's a different ball game, isn't it? And it's kind of nerve-wracking because everyone's watching it in a different kind of way. So I was never that bad, and I was never that bad and nervous about doing it. But you don't want to screw up. And with illusions and mechanics, as you know, sometimes they can let you down through no fault of your own. So sometimes it's kind of a bit edgy doing a magic convention. But I was always lucky, I think, in that respect.
What? So you make the decision, you stop, and obviously, then there was an overlap between the illusions and RSVP.
RSVP was going, and I kind of knew that I could move to that. That was my plan, and that's what I did. And financially, I wasn't making what I would do as an illusionist. But my thing in life, when I was a kid, I wanted a big dog. That was my big ambition. And I got it as a normal life. My neighbours are like, oh my God, you're mad. Why aren't you going, you can go away and travel the world. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I've done it. I want to be home. I want to have a normal life.
How did you cope? Close-up magicians in December can do 25, 30 gigs, really, not too much hassle. Illusionists might do a gig a month. Were there some times where there wasn't work? Were you worried?
I think I was always lucky. I was really, well, maybe lucky. I was good. Maybe that was why. I was good, and I always worked, and I just assumed that that's how it was for everyone. And then it wasn't until I started working closely with other magicians and being closer to the magic world that I realised, how desperate some people are to be doing what I thought was just normal. I just took it as being normal. It wasn't a big deal to me, but I've been doing it since I was 15, pretty much professionally, and since I was probably 8 or 9. So I just took that for granted, I guess. That was the one thing I didn't realise. And So
RSVP Magic, how many projects have you done?
I've lost count. I've shot everything Peter Nardi's released at Alakazam. Peter's a really great friend now, and I don't know, I've done so many. I think I've probably shot and edited more Magic DVDs than anyone.
Have you got some favourites?
I really like Martin Sanderson's. That was the first one I
Well,
ever
he's
did.
like a myth in magic. Where is he now?
I don't know. He's disappeared. He's like Uncle Marty, the kiddies magician. No, he's great. You know, if it wasn't that DVD, I mean, the amount of material close-up work is used from that, and they don't even know it. It's gone now. It's been passed on and on. They don't even realise that the routine that they're doing on the Omni Deck thing was at Martin's. You know, and other people claiming it. Other people doing routines, putting on DVDs, and you know, he just used it as that thing of switching it in, and no one did. You know, when originally it was Solid Deception, a version of that with Paul Harris's Solid Deception, and Martin he just made it so practical. It was great.
Yeah,
that DVD is really great. I love that DVD. So its quality is dreadful, and my editing's not as good as it is now, but it's a great DVD. Corporate Close-Up by Martin Sanderson.
Still available, right?
Still available. Yeah, it's a good DVD.
We have to talk about an incident that you had a few years ago with Sean Farquhar. I think most people are familiar with the story.
Yeah.
Has it sort of been cleared up between you?
No, it'll never be cleared up because that's not in his nature. So, and I was because I haven't really been around the magic world when I was performing massively. It was just a situation that I think he got into a position where he just backed himself into a corner, and a sorry would have been all that was needed.
It just kept building and building.
Well,
and building.
To be accused of being the thief, that was kind of what really riled me, and then it was a clever little ploy, but it didn't really work. So, but hey ho, that's all in the past. So.
Absolutely. So. Obviously, I think a lot of people know you for now is working with James Moore.
Yeah.
So I think we all know you work with James Moore. What I don't know, and I'd love to know, is how it happened, how you got.
Oh, okay. I used to, when I quit the ships, I started. The people that I used to work with, I was putting 2 or 3 magicians on, young guys. James was one of them, and he just used to do a 15-20 minute act on Royal Caribbean, doing a welcome aboard or a farewell show, and he did that for 3 years on pretty good money actually. Because of how James looked, and he's a good performer, he kind of got away with it, really.
So how did you meet James?
Duncan Trillo saw him in the Young Magician of the Year. He was a judge, and James never came anywhere. And Duncan rang me and said, look, this kid, he didn't come anywhere. I was the only person that seemed to think there was something going on there, and everyone else was like, oh no. And, you want to keep an eye out. And I kind of contacted James and then met up with him, and I'm a pretty good gauge of things, I think, and as soon as I met James, it was like, yeah, he's got it, and
so
you
just saw him do his minute pact as it was.
Yeah, which is pretty much what it is now. He hasn't bloody changed it much.
It's great.
Well,
great.
Was it? Oh well,
I like it.
Yeah,
I saw it in Newbury a few weeks ago.
It's quite amazing. He did it in his own show in the second half, and it went down a treat, and he really didn't want to do it. He was fighting with me. I don't want to do it. But it went down really well.
It was one of the biggest reactions of the show.
Yeah, I thought so as well. And I said to him, James, it's because you've done all the other types of magic, and all of a sudden in the second half, you come out and you do this other kind of magic, and everyone goes, oh my God, I didn't know he could do that.
It showed to an audience, it shows real skill and dedication.
Yeah, proper magician.
Yeah.
It's like, that was my thing with the Shape of My Heart routine, was why it was so precious was because it was the one routine I had where in the middle of the show, people could see, wow, hold on, this guy's a proper magician.
Yeah.
Despite all the boxes, it was like, wow, he's a proper magician. We used to get that all the time. So, yeah, he's good. James is really good. He's got a lot of, it's been a lot of hard work because up until he did Britain's Got Talent, he hadn't done illusions. So it's been 18 months learning. And you saw in Newbury was, 18 months ago he had an impaler illusion, and that was it.
How did it come about you managing him? Was that right from the beginning? Or?
Well, I was kind of like an agent. I was getting like a split on commission when he did the ships, and I had this arrangement with the agency that used to book me, and so I didn't really help him with his act. And then one day he announced he wanted to go on Britain's Got Talent, and I said, I think it's a bad idea. I hate the program.
Really? Did you see you didn't want him to do it?
No, I hate the program.
Yeah. Okay, didn't expect that.
Yeah, I hated, and I said no, and he said, look, I really want to do it, and he'd just done Penn and Teller, and I said, well, if you want to do it, I'll back you up. I'll be with you all the way. So the one thing James got right was that I did not realise the power of that show, which is unbelievable. If it works for you, unbelievable. And so we went for a meeting, because they'd been, as usual, they ring everyone, don't they? James was one of the people they'd rung, and that was why he asked me. And we went in for a meeting. We met the series producer called Matt Banks, who's a really good guy, and subsequently he's very supportive of magic. I think you've met Matt, haven't you?
Yeah.
And we didn't realise, I didn't realise that at the time, and he really liked James, and he's like, we really want to represent this properly, and of course you don't know because you've seen how bad it was before, so it's kind of a bit of a risk, and he did really well.
Well, of course, and also, it's 15 years later, but he walked on that stage with your baby, didn't he?
Yeah, he did the Impaler, yeah, he did, no, 25 years later.
Wow.
25
so
years
you
later.
stood in the wing?
Yeah, I was watching from the front, so it's kind of weird to watch an audience watching a new guy doing an illusion that they had never seen before.
Yeah.
An audience of 2,000 people, anyone under the age of probably 35, 40 had never even seen that. And he ripped the place apart, which was a real buzz for me. And, jump up standing ovation, genuinely, and Simon Cowell falling all over him, and you're the best magician I've ever seen, and I could take you to America tomorrow, and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, great, that's it, he's through to the live shows. And then they knocked him out. So, yeah, they knocked him out. He didn't go through. And then about 3 days after they did that, they rang me up and said, look, we made a big mistake. We're going to bring James in as a wild card. We've got 3 wild cards. So we're going to give 6 people the chance, and 3 of them will go through. And so he came in as a wild card. But subsequently, because of that, they didn't really promote him, and that show works. If you want to get through to the live stages or into the final, you need to be promoted, as in have a backstory, be promoted in the press and the media. And they didn't do that with James, because they literally snuck him in. They didn't cheat, but they kind of snuck him in, and he didn't get that PR. So this year with Darcy Oak, when I got involved with that, basically Darcy got everything James should have really got, but they didn't realise how good that magic was. James really led the way. We led the way with that, because they did not think it was going to be as good as it was, and they were shocked. Really shocked.
You had a battle with them about the way that the semi-final trick should be shown.
Yes, that was a table of death, and we went in for a pitch meeting, and it was awful. It was the executive producer was a lady, Amelia Brown, and she just, that's just awful. When I described the trick, it's awful. You can't appear in the audience, they'll all see you. No, they won't. Yes, they will. No, they won't. Yes, they will. The shadow's obviously not him. Well, no, it isn't obvious. And it was when I announced that we needed 4 or 5 dancers for 4 days exclusively. That was the point where they were like, well, it's just not going to happen. We'll never do that. We'll give you the dancers as and when. And I was like, no, we need them for 4 days.
So how do you manage it when they start saying no?
You just walk away.
So you walked away?
Yeah, well, we got up from the meeting and they went, well, it's not going to happen. I said, okay, well, fine. And we got up and we walked out, and James, who sat there saying not much throughout, and we walked out and James said, that didn't go too well, did it? Understated. And that was it. And I just thought, well, that's it. They're not going to go for that. And then 3 or 4 days later, they rang me and said, okay, we're going to go for it. Which really surprised me. But I'd never done the Table of Death illusion when I was performing, and James certainly hadn't. I'd never even seen one. I'd sourced one from a lady called Sita in Holland, who used to be Hans Klop's assistant. She had this one with fire, which was the only one of its kind, and we basically hired it, and that was a real nightmare, just getting that arranged, but we hired it. So when we arrived on the Tuesday, and we're on a Friday night, we arrived on the Tuesday morning, this prop arrives from Holland in a van. I've never seen it.
Wow.
I saw it on a video.
Illusions don't come with instruction manuals either.
No, they don't.
Or an accompanying DVD.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm really good at, my talent, I'm not very good at inventing magic tricks, but I'm really good at staging, and I don't mean that arrogantly, but I am good at staging, lighting, and blocking.
And finding
and
music.
Yeah, music I'm good. And so I had the music, I had everything, I had it all marked out. And how I ended up on TV was exactly, there wasn't one thing that was different. And so they put us in the scene dock behind the makeup truck, hidden away where no one could see us for 4 days. We were just hidden, and we just rehearsed in the freezing cold for 4 days. The 4th day, so it was 3 days, and the 4th day we did it live on TV, under quite a lot of pressure, really.
I'm really interested to know that, because you are a performer, and like you said earlier, how stuff can go wrong, stuff that has worked every time in rehearsal.
Yeah.
If it can go wrong, it will go wrong on the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you feel when you're stood in the wing watching James?
That's the worst, isn't it? Because you're not performing. When you're performing, you're in control, but watching it, you have no control. So you don't know. You know, you can't help them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we covered. I really thought through every scenario of what could happen. You know, and I think we covered ourselves, to be honest with you. But it was still a real risk when I think about it. You know, it's a real.
So how does that journey happen? With obviously you walked out, and then they said we'll do it your way, and then it goes out as it was. James didn't reach the final, but were they pleased with the way you did things?
Yeah, we did it on the Friday, and then they have a week off, and then the final was on the Saturday. And Amelia, who I'd had the fights with, who said it was crap and whatever, Amelia Brown sent me this lovely email, really long email on the night of the final. It's really weird. I always remember it was like 7:30. It was like about half an hour before the show or something. I remember thinking it was really bizarre that she had written this long email when she was clearly busy. And she sent this email. It's really nice, and it was like, I just want to say thanks so much. We've completely underestimated what you do. We didn't realise magic required the amount of stuff that it really does to look great. And between us both, we've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm very proud of what we did. And I couldn't believe it. It was kind of like, wow, because you know what TV people are like. It was really nice.
So how do you end up getting involved again next year? They're pleased with what you did, so they asked you to be involved?
No, what happened was they realised they screwed up with James. I know they did. He was great, and then Darcy Oak came along, and I was aware of Darcy from his Dove Acts on a French TV show he did, and they had approached him, and he said no way, no, he didn't want to do it. And then they talked to him, and he was, well, if Russ Stevens is involved, this is what they told me. Matt Banks said, we've spoken to Darcy Oak, he doesn't want to do it, but if you're involved, he'll do it. Could you give him a call? So I called him, and he was, yeah, great, I want to do it. He knew obviously of James's success, so, and he knew as well, you know, they're very similar, so.
I want to hear your point of view on this, because I'm not sure how many times this has been said to you, but I've heard this from magicians over and over and over again, and I want your spin on it. And that is how similar James and Darcy are in terms of their look. Why did that happen? Is it just TV? Or
I know that James has looked like that since I started managing, so 6 years. Darcy, I assume, has looked like that before James Moore. I don't know for sure that's the case. I'm sure he has, because you know, you only need to go back to 2007 Justin Timberlake. You know, that's Justin Timberlake. The whole thing is Justin. That's exactly what he used to wear, exactly what he used to do. And I guess, you know, I'm 54 now, so I'm kind of up on everything. I know that, but yeah, I don't know. That is.
Is that the TV company saying? I want Darcy to look like that?
No, Darcy looked like that already, but I also know that really helped him.
So they come and say, find us someone who looks like James?
No, they didn't. They found Darcy.
Right.
And they saw him on the French TV show, like I had a few months earlier, and they were like, we want this Darcy Oak to do it. And I'm positive that James was totally in their mind. You know, it's James. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and Darcy will admit it, and James will admit it. It's the same thing.
More from Russ in a moment, when I'm going to ask him his opinions on the way magic is presented on television these days. Strap yourselves in for that one, that's all I can say. Please remember again to go to our Facebook page and share our status for a chance to win $200 worth of free downloads on the Vanishing Ink website. But right now, what I'd love to do is offer you a free 30-day trial with Gigio. Gigio is a web-based software designed for the professional entertainer. It takes care of your admin, it takes care of your payments, it sends out contracts and all sorts of amazing things to allow you more time to learn magic and listen to the Magicians podcast. It was invented by Martin Rowland, and every top professional is using it. Read what others are saying about it on their website, gigio.co.uk. That's Gigio, spelled GIGGIO.co.uk. Did I mention it's a free 30-day trial? You can't lose. Go and check it out right now. Okay, here we go. Back to Russ Stevens to talk about magic on television.
So I signed a contract to work for Simon Cowell's company and Fremantle. And
that's amazing. So you signed for the TV company?
Yeah, I was working for them. I was part of their team. The people that sat there around and told me it was shit less than a year before will now come in and join us. So it was kind of cool. But then I had all that power that I didn't have before. The fights that I had, I didn't have to fight so much. Mm-hmm. So Darcy got everything, everything and more. But I still had to fight. There was still a lot of fights about. On the final, we did his Jaws of Death escape. Arturo Becchetti had given Darcy this idea of a 1 minute to live thing, which was, imagine if you knew you only had 60 seconds to live. They say your life flashes before your eyes, and it's a really great idea. But I'd stay, and that's what I love, the staging. So I staged it all, and we used the video wall properly. It was the first time I think that video wall's ever been used, apart from putting nice images up. And it was a video of Darcy going back in time as he was escaping. But it was really cool. But the coolest part for me was, and that was a part I wrote, which was he was shackled into the straitjacket, and you're thinking, oh, this is just going to be a normal. So, he's going to escape. It's an escape, yeah, whatever. And he turned around, and as he was hoisted up, the video will flick to life, and it was a huge image of Darcy as he turned around to be hoisted. This image of Darcy came up saying, imagine if you knew you only had 60 seconds to live. They say your life flashes before your eyes. The people you love, the people you lost, the people that made a difference. That was the part I wrote. And it was like, all of a sudden, for me, it was like, to the audience watching, it suddenly just took a whole different direction, and it became an emotional thing rather than just a dangerous escape. And the TV company on the day we did the final, the early morning, we were first on at like 7:30 in the morning, and they didn't want to use that video intro. I loved it. I was like, how brilliant.
What? Yeah. I mean, what? How could they? Why?
Well, and I remember I remember I was standing behind Matt.
It was the best bit.
Yeah, Matt was like, we want you to speak that. We want you to speak that. And Darcy was like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, no. It must be the video. It's got to be the video. And so even on that day, I was fighting, to think. And the thing is, it's like, with Darcy was new to it, and you do want to please the TV people. You don't want to piss them off. And I understand how that is. But it caused, that situation ended up causing friction between us, which was, very bizarre.
Sorry, between you and Darcy?
Yeah, and for various reasons that happened, I will never be working with Darcy Oak ever again. But my whole motivation at that point was that I wanted to represent what I used to do properly on TV in the UK. So whatever happened and whatever transpired during the period of that Got Talent thing, my main thing was, I want to make this look great, and I don't want to make it look great for any other reason than for us. For us, I want to make it look great for magic. I want to show people that illusions are great, and that you can do this kind of magic, and it can be legitimate, and it can be contemporary, and it can be really great to this kind of audience nowadays. It doesn't have to be street magic. It doesn't have to be faked. It doesn't have to have all the cuts and the CGI. And that proved.
Earlier today in the conference, you were speaking, and you said something I didn't know, which is that Darcy's going to be doing a TV special this.
Yeah, he's filming, I think, the 29th of November, bizarrely in Blackpool.
But it's a theatre show being recorded, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know. I know because we were speaking about a TV show, early on, and I don't know. I think it'd probably be. I remember saying, "So you mean like a Copperfield type thing, but up to date?" And he was like, "Yeah." So it's being filmed at the Opera House. So
you have a real problem with TV magic, really, don't you? That's fair to say.
Yeah, I hate it. As I think any performing magician should. Stage performer anyway will understand that. And I spent 40 years of my life doing this, and then when I see it reduced to what it's been reduced to as a magician, not as anything else, just as a magician, it breaks my heart. It really does. It's like, why did I spend all that time, or why did we spend that time trying to build up and create an art form to have it just bastardized like that?
You're talking mainly about the way it's edited?
Edited. Well, we all know about the CGI. I mean, when it gets to CGI, we're really screwed. Yeah. That is pathetic, beyond bad. And then the worst thing is I've read comments from, an advisor who I really respect, saying that, well, we cut out the method so that on YouTube the kids can't track it back and find out how it was done. And I just can't, and I've heard it from several consultants that work for Troy and Dynamo and other people. It seems to be the thing that's just been bandied around amongst them all. And it's just the most ridiculously stupid thing to say that. It's, I'm sorry, boys, but the general public really don't give a toss how these things are done. Maybe a few people do, but I promise you they don't. And the reason I can tell you they don't is Darcy Oak and James Moore have had between them, I think, 75 million hits on YouTube doing standard illusions with no camera cuts, no fakes, no edits, and it hasn't ruined their careers one eye. In fact, it's done the opposite. The careers are soaring, which just shoots that argument completely down. Because you can watch James Moore's Impaler and work it out. You can watch Darcy's Dakota Chair and work it out if they really want to. Like Jim Steinmeier said in his lecture, if someone really wants to go to that kind of trouble to work it out, maybe they deserve to know.
It's brilliant.
It's a great. It's true. Most people don't want to know, and they don't want to even bother knowing. I think we'll forget the fact that editing out the method makes the trick look stronger. We'll forget the fact that editing out the method maybe makes the magician look better. I would say that that's the true motivation, and I don't like this thing of people trying to justify it's just indefensible. But as soon as you start cutting out the method to a trick, it's no longer magic. It's no longer magic. You may as well be doing a camera trick or CGI. Go to Industrial Light and Magic, boys. Give them a call, because you may as well just do that. Why bother? And I think a lot of it stems from the fact that because a lot of it is close up. A lot of the consultants are close up guys. They're not stage performers. Some of them probably think they maybe are, but like I say, stand on the stage in front of 3,000 people for half an hour or an hour, and get a great reaction. Then you're a stage performer, not doing the odd corporate standing up in front of a couple of hundred people doing some stand-up parlour magic at best. I do get angry, so it's annoying.
Also, this is interesting. You, in the last few years, you've got more heavily involved with the Blackpool Magicians Club.
I have, but I stepped away now. I did get involved quite heavily, and I used to be on the committee, and then I actually quit the committee about a year ago, just under, because James's thing was just crazy. It still is crazy. I mean, I still can't believe that 18 months on, Got Talent, you're lucky to get 2 or 3 months out of it. He didn't even get to the final. The Got Talent team, every time I speak, when I meet them, it's every few months, they always mention James. So, what's he up to? And you tell him, and they're like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Is that the power of YouTube, really?
Yeah, he's had 34 million views now, the audition video. And so I just got a thing in today for a TV show in South America. He's just all over. So although he's doing the illusionist show, the illusionist show, remember when James finished Got Talent, he had an Impaler and a Table of Death he didn't even own. We had to buy the Table of Death from Tita, and within a month he had to do half an hour in a corporate that we'd bought. And
did you used to hate doing corporates?
Yeah, I didn't. They're money gigs, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're money gigs. But I think when you get to that level of James's, you do get extra stuff. So you do get the stage you want, you get the lighting you want. There is an element to it where it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot easier. And then, a month later, he did a 30-minute illusion act with some of his smaller stuff. It's just amazing. It was rough, but he did it, and it went really well. So it's quite incredible. But he had no experience doing illusion, so the illusionist thing was perfect. But I said to him, you're in the biggest touring illusion show in the world, and you're using it to gain experience. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Even now, he's putting stuff in and trying stuff, and it's...
I've got a little game I want to play, because I think this will be fun. Word association. So if I say a person or something in the world of magic, you just tell me what springs to mind. And you can be as brief or as detailed with these as you like.
Oh dear.
Are you ready, Russ Stevens?
Go for it, yes.
So let's start with an easy one. The magic circle. Obviously, all of these are from your perspective.
Yeah, very good. I love the magic circle. I mean, they the Young Magician of the Year, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Brilliant. Duncan Trillo.
My best friend. So, yes.
How did you meet Duncan?
he used to work in Hamleys in the magic store, and I used to bunk off of school. And I used to go to Hamleys, and I used to hang out all day, bothering Duncan.
Because where did you grow up?
West Hampstead.
I see, because you're in Blackpool now.
Yeah, but I lived in North
see.
London, so I used to go every day to Hamleys. And Duncan we were interested in the same magic. So Duncan's hero was Richard Ross, mine was Johnny Hart, but it was the silent magicians.
Yeah.
The one cool thing about that was we never had aspirations to be on TV. I never had this thing of I want to be a star. Never had that in my ever was that. And that I think was why when I quit, it was easy. It was kind of easy because I despite I read Troy did an interview in the Magic Circular this month, and he mentioned about older magicians, and I've mentioned something on my Facebook about James and Troy being from the Young Magicians Club, Magic Circular. They're a similar age, and I said it's interesting to see the two different paths that these two guys have gone on. One's chosen to do it legitimately, both good magicians. The other guy's chosen to do it the other way. And
do you blame Troy for that? I mean, let's be honest. He's on TV. And make no mistake about it, he's competing against Dynamo, really.
That's the best question all day.
Yeah.
Because I don't blame him, and I understand why he will do that, and I understand the constraints of TV. So if Troy's ever listening to this, Troy, I rate you as a magician, and I think you're great, but I don't like the path that you've gone down, and I understand why you've done that. I don't think the consultants have advised you the best they should, and I know what it's like with the executives. I know from Got Talent, I know you will never meet a more opinionated, more forceful group of people than the Britain's Got Talent TV execs. Never. There's not worse for being, there's the biggest, one of the biggest shows in the UK, and they think they're right, and you're wrong. And that was how it was right from the get-go. Yeah. And I'm not saying it as a look at me, but I did. I stood up to them because I genuinely didn't care. If they didn't want to do it the way I wanted to do it, I didn't want to do it anyway, so it's no loss to me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing it for the money. James's thing, did I ever think it would become what it's become? Never in a million years. All I ever wanted was to represent the illusion thing and magic in the way that I wanted to be represented genuinely, and genuinely meant no cuts, and you couldn't do it on Got Talent anyway, but look what's happened. Proof in point.
Here we go, next one. Close-up magicians.
I have a lot of friends who are close-up, and I filmed. They've given me my living for the last 7 years. I love close-up magic. Love it. I love close-up. I love all magic. I love all good magic. I love all good magic,
Wayne Dobson.
Another really good friend. Yeah, really, really great friend. Wayne was with the same agency and management. He had the same manager as me when we were kids, when we were 18, 19. So I've known him long time.
Magic conventions. Obviously, through your production company now, you do have to go to them.
Yeah.
Do you like them? Do you hate them? Is there bits about them?
I like visiting them occasionally. I wouldn't like to go to every convention that's around, but I do. Yeah, I like magic. Blackpool especially, not because I live there. I think it's amazing. If I was a kid again, walking into that dealer's hall, it's every year I think that. Every year I think, God, if I was just starting, this is just amazing, and I love it. I love the social thing of it more than the magic. And then once in a while you see Yuhu Jin or Jan Frisch or Marco Carvo or someone like that, and then you go, wow, that's like a bonus to me, But just the thing of the social and the whole thing of it, I do like. Blackpool is the best as far as I'm concerned.
David Copperfield.
Yeah, a hero, back in the day.
Yeah.
Hero, yeah, totally.
Not anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. But I love his older stuff though. I love the illusions. I love the way he used to do them. I know that he probably can't do them that way anymore because of his age. He's going to not quite look right, maybe. But I still think, he could do a bit more of the stuff that I used to love.
Sure. Sean Farquhar.
He's Canadian, and Darcy Oak's Canadian. Maybe there's something about Canadians, huh?
Okay, this is really interesting because he started off by saying how Johnny Hart was, I think it was last year, the year before, you got Johnny Hart
3 years ago,
and Marco Carvo together.
That was a FISM. Yeah.
How did that all happen?
Well, I met Johnny, and it was through Noel here that
Noel Britton.
Yeah, Noel Britton was going to do an interview. They were going to give him a lifetime award or something for the circle, lifetime MIMC. I don't know There's only about 3 or 4 people ever been given it, and Jolly's quite a recluse now, and they had a problem with the camera. They were going to film it or record it, and Dave Andrews couldn't get it working, and they rang me and they went, "Oh Russ, we can't get this thing. We're trying to record Johnny Hart." I was like, "Well, Johnny Hart, what?" And I knew he was living back in Preston, but I'd never met him, and so I went along and I met him, and we got on incredibly well. So, quite emotional to sit down opposite the guy that I've never met, that was like my hero. If you ask, I don't care, any magician in the world, living or dead, and Johnny Hart was it.
Is he still your favourite magician of all time?
Yeah, because when I was a kid, I look he's dated now and you watch it, but he's still, I realised as a kid, when I look back and I see Richard Ross and Johnny Hart, a guy called Victor Burnett was another one, and I look at the old videos, they're great. With the knowledge I now have, they're still really great magicians, and so I think even as a kid I had a really good taste in what was good. I knew what was good, and the things I thought were crap, well-known magicians, because the Magic Circle had the Christmas show every year, there were big acts that did it, and I'd go along and I'd be, oh, that's a bit disappointing, and then now I could watch that same magician and think the same as I did as a kid. I don't go, oh, I got that one right. I kind of seem to have quite a good eye for it even then. Yeah.
What sort of magic does drive you mental now? Like, when you sit at the Blackpool Magic Convention and you watch a whole weekend of every type of magician, every type of act, what sort of stuff drives you crazy? Is it just bad staging, or?
Yeah, there's a lot more bad magic around, obviously, than good. So you have to go through a lot of bad to see the good, and so it's it can get a bit of a wearing down process, can't it, for all of us?
Yeah.
But it's always worth it when you see a Marco Carvo or a Yuhu Jin, or a Jan Frisch. That was, they're the guys who just go, wow. And those guys, look at those two, Jan Frisch, Yuhu Jin. They're 20. I know Yuhu now from The Illusionist. He's on the show with James, and he's a great guy, and he's 21, 22 years old, and he's doing that.
Is it his work ethic, or has he had the right people helping?
Yeah, he's had the right people helping him. It's huge talent, though, isn't there? Even if he's been taught what he's been taught, huge talent. And I remember I was with Duncan. We were opposite ends of the front row when he first did Blackpool, and I remember I was crying at the end because I said to Duncan, I got a bit emotional, and then Duncan was like, yeah, I did too, because we've seen something we've never seen before.
Yeah.
That was like the best we've ever seen, and I never thought I'd see that.
What's the best TV magic you've seen, rather than the negative side of what's happening now? What's some of the stuff that you do?
I just really used to like all the old Copperfield stuff. There's a theatre to it, and it seems to be like now. I know Graham Jolly did a podcast for you, and Graham said it seems to be now that they think the trick is enough. That's all it's about, the trick. Presentation doesn't matter. And for me, I love presentation, I love theatre, I love the whole staging of magic, and that's why I like the stage stuff. That's why I like Darcy, I like James's stuff. I love illusions.
Yeah. Is there another young magician around at the minute you've got your eye on? Someone you've seen who you think?
I've got a couple of ideas for next year if I choose to get involved, but I won't be working for them again. I'll go in as a manager or handling.
Yeah.
I'll handle them. So, but I'm deciding whether or not after the experience of this year, I don't really know whether I want to put myself through that again.
Yeah.
So, but maybe, they want me to.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
What advice would you give to a young magician?
Just to do it legitimately. Go out and do it. And that's the shame to me. Troy and Dynamo, they're really good close-up workers. They can do it. And they've just fallen for the TV executives telling them, you've got to do this, instead of having a team of people standing up to them and going, no, that isn't the way you do it. And I know that sounds incredibly, that's not going to happen, but it did. I did it, but then I'm not desperate to be famous, and I'm not doing it to make loads of money, and I'm not doing it for the motivations that maybe they are. So I can walk away. But I do believe that if more people stood up, we'd see better magic on TV than we do.
So do it live.
Yeah, learn your trade. It's like anything, learn your trade and don't. Yeah, it's easy to. It's kind of like selling your soul to the devil, really. And I knew that when this stuff started, that when Chris Angel, he was the guy that really sort of started all that. And I knew it was a slippery slope we were on. And we've got to the point now where we're CGIing wires out. Come on, pathetic.
Russ, really appreciate you doing this. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Richard.
Massive thanks to Russ. Doesn't he talk with such passion? I love interviews like that. I also love sharing outtakes with you. Duncan Trillo was with us. He was trying to keep things a bit quiet in the background, but a guy decided to use the vending machine right near us. This is what happened.
I'm so sorry, can you just say that again?
Yeah.
That bit.
Yeah, Graham Johnny did a podcast for you recently, and he said that is that Duncan Trillo?
It's actually
That's Duncan Trillo making all that noise and ruining my interview.
It actually wasn't Duncan at all. He was trying to stop the guy making so much noise on the vending machine. Really appreciate that, Duncan, and hopefully he'll be on a later episode of the Magicians Podcast. He's had an amazing career himself. Massive thanks again to Russ Stevens. Go to our Facebook page right now. Go and enter the competition. All you have to do is share our status to win up to $200 worth of free downloads on the Vanishing Ink website. Massive thanks to Andy Gladwin and Joshua J for this. Look forward to seeing you again next week, everybody. Thanks again.